Sewanee, the University of the South, was actually one of the founding members of the SEC, but after losing all 37 of their conference games, they left the SEC in 1940 and eventually became D3. Today, though, I've brought them back into College Football 25, where they'll be rejoining the SEC once again, and I'll be rebuilding them in this video until we win a national championship. Just taking a look at some of this roster, though, it's not going to be easy, because we're obviously going to be projected to finish down here at the bottom of the SEC, but we have some young players like freshman halfback Deshaun Lambo, which could be a lot of fun. For full transparency too, I advanced a year to try to make this team as bad as possible, but the game automatically made these walk-ons come onto the team because it was so bad. So I guess there's a limit to how terrible you can be, but our coaches are atrocious, and that includes both our offensive and defensive coordinator too. Since Sewanee's located in Tennessee, our main rival in this that's out of conference will be Middle Tennessee State, and our school grades look absolutely horrendous, all outside of conference prestige, so we have got to get them up. I might be underestimating how hard this is going to be since all the players that are interested in our school are 1 or 2 stars, but I felt like that couldn't be entirely true since we are an SEC school. That has to help us out a little bit, and there we go. We can find some 3-star talent to go after. I'll probably try to get 4 stars later in the year as well, but you can see that pretty much every position is going to be a team need. If it says it's not, they're lying. We're bad at every spot. And I found a gym with my first prospect already, so that's a good start. By the end of scouting, I was actually able to find 6 different gyms, including this quarterback who could be the future of our program. Look at this, 94 throw power, 85 speed. I mean, those are great stats. I'd like to think that he'd have Bob Burger sweating at the thought of losing his starting job, but we're going to have to compete with schools like Northern Illinois, and all that we can do at the start is just send the house on him. With only 400 recruiting hours a week though, these are the 8 3-stars that I'm going after, and we're going to have to sign a lot more than that. I'm not sure how I'm going to make it happen, but we will figure it out, and our overall compared to Middle Tennessee State is 12 lower. We have to hop into it though because I want to show you all the field, and we have some sick jerseys that we're going to be able to rotate throughout the course of this entire rebuild, which I'm excited about. Here we go. I know we're using a D3 school, so our stadium is not massive. I think it seats about 17,000, but that should do the trick even in the SEC. And Bryce Burger, it's your chance to prove that you should have the starting job for the next 4 years. The problem with that though is our offense has scored less points than our defense in this game, and if we can't pick up this 4th and 8, we're going to be in a lot of trouble, but our route just slipped. I had a curl route that would have probably been open, but our receiver couldn't stay on his feet, and at the end of the day, it seems like we're not going to be able to score a single point with Bryce Burger. Losing to Middle Tennessee State 41-2 is not a good start to a rebuild, and it kind of gives you a good idea of how difficult this will be, especially in the SEC, but that's also why for the rest of this first season, we have no reason to hop into any of these other games, especially on the road at Clemson, because we already know that this is going to end very badly for us. Now, when it comes to recruiting, if we scroll through all of our guys, the only player that we're losing points on right now is this left tackle, so we're going to have to remove him from our board, but the rest of them we're still going to be able to go after, and it's been really hard to find a 4-star we could go after because pretty much all of them have deal breakers, but I did find this quarterback, so we're also going to target him and maybe this tight end too. There's a lot of reasons to be worried about the current players on our team though leaving, because as I scroll through this list, there's like 10 players that want to enter the transfer portal, and worst case scenario, if we don't get Manu, we're still going to have Terry Duval because I don't think NIU's catching up to us. We're starting to unlock all 3 interest for these players, but the issue with these pitches is we have like a D grade in everything, so I don't know if hard sells are going to help us or not unless it's a specific scenario like this where both conference prestige and hard sells are in their top 3. Surprisingly enough though, for the next 4 recruits, that was all of their main pitches, so I guess that's the main reason that they even want to come here as 3-stars. And I've never seen this happen before on a 3-star prospect, but South Carolina wants them more than us, so we're about to lose a battle for a player that's not even in the top 1,000 in the country. This is probably the first time I'm going to have to focus on this recruiter skill tree. Normally I like to just go down the motivator path, but at least for now I'm spending 30 coach points to get tier 2 for my wide receivers, tight ends, offensive and defensive linemen, all in most influential. If you combine that with our other coordinators, that should allow us to get some better bonuses towards those positions, which we desperately need since we're not winning for a while, even if it was close versus the Cardinals. Leave it up to Louisville to almost make a Division III school look good, and Memphis is 0-4 too, but their overall is so much higher. When it comes to recruiting, it's looking pretty good for most of these prospects, including the 4-star quarterback that we've taken a lead on, and then somebody at the bottom of our board, this 4-star left tackle, but that's still only 8 players. In order to free up some hours, we have to get guys like this to sign quicker, and we just landed 3 3-stars in the same week. Martin Zenner was also SEC Defensive Player of the Week as a freshman, but that doesn't mean we won. We still lost by 7. It's also not looking very promising for Alex Capps. We're in a battle with Duke, and I can't schedule him for a visit because of a bug, so we're just hoping for the best there, and I see that Notre Dame's starting to go after this 4-star with us. I don't even want to schedule players for a visit because I know we're going to lose, but we do have bye weeks open if we need it. And I'm going to search through all these 4-star prospects that are still in the open stage until we find one that doesn't have a deal breaker on our program. There was only 3 of them left in the entire country, but my hope is we can sign at least one of them. And I'm very happy seeing the commitment of Alex Capps. That means 3 of the first 4 players that we've signed have all been gyms. But here's the issue with going after 4 stars that aren't being recruited. Now you're seeing other teams come into the picture. As the weeks go on, you're going to see that we just don't have what it takes to close the deal. They're going to pass us up for both of them. And this visit could save us with Manu. I really need the 4-star quarterback, but I highly doubt that it will. We hedged our bets though, going after Terry Duval. That's why we have him on our board still as well. I mean, he has that 94 throw power I've talked about. And to be fair, we don't even know how good this kid's stats are. Maybe I should start to scout him, and if they're not great, yeah, I'm going to just take him off our board entirely. I've also noticed that we desperately need more wide receivers, so I'm starting to add some 3-stars that still are in the open stage of their commitment. And I can't stress enough how important it is that you scout some of these guys from the start, because I'm finding bust after bust since they have not been recruited, and I'm starting to see why. At least I can finally come in with some positive news though. With these 3 4-stars we started putting points on, we seem to still be in the lead on all of them. And then I found back-to-back JUCO sophomore gyms at wide receiver who we're also going to go after. We might be able to get them to commit after they see that we have Terry Duval officially signing, and Brian Toon will pair with him in the backfield, but his stats weren't the best. I normally like somebody with more than 89 speed, but if you have 82 trucking, that kind of balances it out. And I'm having to schedule visits for all of these 4-star recruits because it's starting to seem like we might not get a single one of them. It turns out whenever you're sitting at 0-9, losing every game in conference play, including one to Vanderbilt by 35 points, nobody wants to play for you, and I can understand why. We finally made it so Vanderbilt's not the worst team in the SEC. And since our team grades are clearly not going to improve, we still have 8 players that are threatening to enter the transfer portal. Of course, when we have to play my Kentucky Wildcats, this is when they decide to go 8-1. They're the number 5 team in the country. And this is the week that these 3 4-stars are visiting. They're about to obliterate us. Well, I guess you could say it'd be pretty underwhelming for Kentucky to only beat us by 7, but none of them have committed, even though a couple of them are so close, and I'm afraid that Florida's about to catch us on this tight end. Nobody stopped Heath Peace from coming to our school though. We have signed our first 4-star. That's what I love to see, but Florida did get this tight end, and I called that happening, but us losing 38-13 to the Gators probably sealed that decision. It was a rough season 1 for the Division III school, but keep in mind we were using 69 overall Bryce Berger, who's up to a 69 now, and he showed a lot of improvement with this many passing yards, even though he also threw 16 interceptions. Despite not being a scrambler either, he led the team in rushing over our starting running back Deshaun Lambo, and we had a couple breakouts at wide receiver with this freshman and then sophomore Asher Varner. Sophomore JUCO Khalil Woodhead's not running away from a challenge though, because he wants to take their spot on the depth chart, and Louisville stole the final 4-star that was on our board. I think it's only right we decide to fire both our OC and our defensive coordinator. I want to redo everything about this team, and for whatever reason that made Walter Cutting decide on Sewanee. Our goal is eventually to have a Heisman winner like Clemson, and for all we know, Terry Duval could be the player to take us to that next level. On early national signing day, we've only been able to bring in 9 guys, so as you can imagine, our class is not ranked very high, but I ended up signing the offensive coordinator that I wanted, and I'm hoping to get this defensive coordinator too. Luckily he would, and I needed both of these guys to help balance it out for me because my prestige is still an F, but now I can put points into a bunch of other stuff. I was so close to going down that recruiter path, but I think it's very crucial that we stay on the motivator path, unlocking that tier 3 for different positions, and as I get more points into these categories, I'll make sure to let you all know. I forgot to check who won it all, but I did notice that we have 0 chance to get back any of these 6 guys that are transferring out, and it's not like we lost anybody great to graduation besides Joshua Townsend. With the transfer portal open though, somehow we have players like the 30th best in the portal interested in coming to our school, and with 600 points a week to spend, I tried to split it up as best as I could. As you'll see, I'm starting to only put 25 points on some of these prospects. I have to cast a wide net because the players that we're going to lose on I can cut without a big loss, and I think that'll pay off in the end. We'd go on to make a lot of other signings, so at the end of the day we brought in 19 3-stars with our first class, and then that 1 4-star wide receiver Heath Pease, which means we had a top 50 class, and I'll definitely take that. That's better than I thought we were going to get. Transfer Joseph Dunbar McGee actually ended up being our best player before training results, and even though Bryce Berger started to improve, Terry Duval as a 70 overall freshman is very tempting to start. One position that was still really depleted though was our cornerback room, so it's a miracle for this 90 speed athlete that I was originally going to put at tight end. He would have been a cheat code, but we need him in the slot more than anything else. I think we've set ourselves up for a really good season 2, but the player progression in this game just feels way too fast, and it feels pretty bugged along with the Coach XP speed, because even though it's on normal, I just gained 200 more coach points. We went from a level 10 to a level 30 out of nowhere, and I don't even even feel right putting all those points into this category because of it. I'm gonna hold off on some of that and just increase our in-game stats whenever I hop into the actual matches, but I could also use the 130 skill points I still have left, which is just insane to put stuff into recruiting too. I think what I'm gonna do in future rebuilds is just keep the XP speed set to slower or slowest, and I'm even gonna take this slider and bump it down to 80 for the rest of the rebuild. I think I'm also starting to see the benefit of having a coordinator that has a lot of points in tactician. It brings up your overall a lot too, because to start the season, it's saying that in year number 2, we're gonna be an 80 overall, and that does not feel right. All of those coordinator boosts have really affected these player overalls though. Now there's no chance that I'm starting Terry Duval. And I just noticed that Bryce Berger has a star dev with some of these stats like 92 throw power. There's no reason for me to switch up on him now. Even our freshman wide receiver's enjoying all the boosts that the coordinators get him, because he's up to a 77 before he's ever seen the field. And from everything I'm seeing, coaches are very important in this game, but we still haven't won a single matchup, so I'm hoping it can happen at home against Ohio. One thing that didn't shoot up a ton though was our school grades. We're still 124th on championship contenders, so we need to work on raising these. And as I was scouting players, putting together a board of people I might want to go after, I was just offering them scholarships, and we got an instant commit, which I didn't even know was in the game. As far as I'm concerned, I think that ability is supposed to be locked behind either Program Builder or CEO, and I found it up here. It is Dream School, but I don't have it unlocked, and I still got an instant commit. Sawani has been gifted some magical powers just to compete in the SEC, and I'm gonna test that going after this 5-star recruit. We need a cornerback that could step up like him, but I have a feeling there's no chance we get him, even if we can put 65 hours into him. With only 400 recruiting hours to spend, I'm only able to put points on 7 different players, which is definitely an issue, and I'm just thankful that only one guy on our roster wants to transfer out right now. Despite freshman Heath Peace going for 145 yards and 3 touchdowns in his first game, Cincinnati would beat us by 6, which means we're starting this season 0-1, and I still feel like this 80 overall we have is a bit bugged. That theory is about to be tested versus Ohio, and I'm taking the curl route on 3rd down, but they've picked me off. That is about right for Bordeaux gameplay right there. Can Mechie catch this guy though? No, he can't. He is outrunning us. It's a white corner. When you're struggling against that, that's when you know that this Tiger team is just not good. But I'm determined to get us our first win still, and he just clamped us up again, and it doesn't matter. That was an incredible catch. And getting an interception at this spot on the field means we're about to score again. We just got to fight our way in with Lambo. Lambo did need a slight break though, so we have our backup in, and he doesn't make it, which means we are resorting to Wildcat, and the blocks aren't there. I don't think we could have had a worse time for him to get subbed out. I am going to wait for that halfback angle route to get open though, and I hope our backup never sees the field again. That was the worst 3 combo of plays. Also, what the heck is Clemson's mascot doing on our field right now? Did he just decide to drive by, stop by, see the game for a bit? Because there is absolutely zero reason that he should be out there on the field at the moment, and I just don't get it. I really hope that they get to fixing all these bugs, because it is so much fun whenever you're scoring a lot. And I was hoping we would have maintained our lead throughout this 3rd quarter, but we have completely collapsed. With 3.5 minutes left, we find ourselves down by 7, and I'm just waiting for our route to cut right there. That is Peace getting open in the end zone, and we even got the 2-point conversion, putting us in a pretty good position, but they won't drop the football. We have to get them off the field on this 3rd down, and that's what we're gonna do. But in order to seal the win, we're gonna have to drive all the way down the field, and that's gonna involve a lot of work. They are pressing Peace though, and I would not do that on the freshman that just had an incredible game in his first performance ever, hauling in an incredibly hard to catch ball on that 1st down, and I shouldn't have tried to scramble. It is now 2nd and 15. We're gonna get that slant out, but miss it. So this is not the time for Brian Berger to start to struggle, and he's going to truck this defender or lose the football. You know, I should have slid there. You're going to say it in the comments, but I didn't, and that means that we're losing another game. There's a chance that we're about to go 0-12 again, because it's not like our schedule is getting any easier, and I'm actually stunned how well we're doing for all 7 of these recruits, including the 5-star cornerback, where we are gaining more interest than Kentucky. After advancing the week, I'm expecting that we're going to pass them up, and we have. Even though Rashawn is from Kentucky, he might come to the Tennessee school. We're also able to start giving this pitch on all of the 4-star recruits. I know that this is what he's going to prefer, and I feel like we have to hop into this game against our rivals, Middle Tennessee State. They're a ranked team, and it would be sweet to beat them on the road. I feel like we could pull it off, but in order to do so, we have to stop them on defense, and Mon is already suffering a lot from wear and tear, but we're going to get in that gap and hit the running back. The real question will be, can Brian Berger carry us to the promised land? We need good throws, and I doubt we're pulling off a 17-point comeback with this much time left. This was a brutal loss, and it has humbled me, because because maybe team overall doesn't mean as much as I thought it did, so it's back to building up solid recruiting classes. We've already decided that we're going all in on 5-star cornerback Rashawn Smolko, so I'm going to schedule him for a visit against Georgia even though we're going to lose. And what are the odds that we pull off the upset at home? I just want to see one win on our schedule, but it is not happening. We got blown out by 35. And so much for Bryce Berger, not Brian, being good, because these stats are not great. I almost want to make the quarterback switch now just to see if Terry Duval can do anything better. And I don't know what Kentucky did to start gaining points like this, but we better seal Rashawn quickly. He is like a week to commit or he's going somewhere else. And this is a pop-up I would have loved to see last year because we got a 4-star. And then another 4-star on top of that. But all of these commits don't include Rashawn. We just fell behind and he's on a visit to Kentucky next week. We have lost this battle. But I'm super proud of the effort that we just had, and we have a chance to get 2 other 5-stars if they'll even consider us. I would at least stick it out until Rashawn went to Kentucky just to see if we ended up getting him, but that was expected being the worst SEC team at 0-6. Funny enough though, because Sewanee never won a conference game when they were in the SEC back in like 1933 to 1940, they still have never won a conference game in the SEC play. And they might just be cursed at this point because they're like 0-50. I'm seriously starting to go all in on some of these prospects though. I'm putting 65 hours on each of them. And through simming the next 2 games, we actually won our first matchup. Take a wild guess which SEC school it was against. It was none other than Vanderbilt. And they've been relegated right back down to the bottom of the conference. After making our quarterback switch to freshman Terry Duval, that's when we got our win. So we'll continue to ride with him, but even with players like this 3-star, I'm noticing that we're losing out to bigger colleges. Meanwhile, when I go down to the bottom of our board, especially for these 2 5-stars, we're somehow still in the lead. And it makes absolutely 0 sense, but I just want to land a 5-star commit. I've been trying my best to heavily leverage the fact that we're in the SEC to these recruits. And this 3-star was not the player I was looking forward to signing. I wanted somebody like this 4-star cornerback, but Miami came out of nowhere and stole him in 1 week. And there's like no 4-stars for us to go after because they all have deal breakers. I added a couple that I'm not really that interested in, but I do need some corners, so we're definitely going after these guys. And I don't normally like to scout players, but it allowed me to figure out that 2 of them are bust, and they're pretty slow too with 84 speed. Eventually, just getting through the rest of the year, we'd sign this 4-star wide receiver, but some of our best players want to transfer out, including our best one that we got in the transfer portal last year. We should have known better than to care about Joseph Dunbar McGee. This guy is not loyal. And we should have known that the day his girlfriend came into practice crying, but we still have a lead on both of these 5-stars, so I'm super excited about that. To wrap up the year, Duval actually got us another win over Missouri, and that means we didn't finish at the bottom of the SEC. It was Texas A&M instead. All that money to spend in a year and they still can't win games, but look at this. Our season stats look pretty rough at QB, and also at running back, which is why I'm a little bit concerned. But freshman wide receiver Heath Pease had 803 yards with 7 touchdowns, so I'd say we had something to look forward to, but his development trait's normal and he's not going to progress that much. I have some more bad news as well, as you're going to see 5-star Alex Chester chose Clemson over us. So my quest to get a 5-star probably isn't happening because we just can't seal the deal with Jeremy Thrasher. It doesn't help when his top 2 motivations are both a D- grade for our school, but it doesn't matter because Jeremy Thrasher decided he still wanted to go to Sewanee at the end of the day. That is huge, especially since some of these players still want to transfer, and this time around it was the Georgia quarterback that won the Heisman. I'm definitely not going to touch firing our staff because look at this, they're already up to almost a level 40, and with our conference prestige jumping up to an A+, surely we can get a ton of commits we wouldn't otherwise. Just looking at the playoffs though, Boise State made the championship and then lost it to Clemson. And how do we keep signing players even though recruiting isn't active? It is catching me off guard, but it says we have no persuasion chance at getting any of these guys back. I know that Joseph Dunbar McGee is definitely gone, and I didn't want that cheater at our school anyway, but Javon Moore's graduating and he was a 79 overall corner. I also was just happily looking at the 5-star we brought in until I scrolled up my board, and this is the first time I've ever seen a decommit on this game. We're losing the 4-star defensive tackle. There's nothing I can do. Everything's locked off. The reason is because we don't have the right playing style for him, and I don't care at all. I'm going all in on 4-star Ramen Lee. I'm going to make sure that we get a replacement immediately. As for the transfer portal, we're going to see some corners in here like this guy from Vanderbilt. He wants to come to our program over them. And guess who committed to Kentucky? My backup option for defensive tackle Darrell Benedict. It ended up being okay though because we got the transfer corner that we wanted, Jaquari Brown, and I did a pretty good job at making sure the recruits kept coming in. Then out of the 8 prospects that we have left, I feel like the only one we're actually going to lose out on is this one because Maryland has a lead on us, but we actually lost another battle on top of that one, so we just signed 24 prospects, but this was still an incredible class because we had 4 4-stars and then of course the 1 5-star Jeremy Thrasher. I'm about to see what position we're going to throw him at, but not before seeing that we signed a top 30 class in the country, and the only reason that does make a little bit of sense is because we're an SEC school. This 56 overall athlete has definitely thrown me off though. I don't remember signing him, and he goes up to a 64 whenever we move him around. Anyway, the main focus is Jeremy Thrasher, and it said he was an elusive back, but he's actually better on defense and even at tight end too. I had to make him a strong safety though, because we have no depth at this position, and the 69 overall athlete jumped up to a 75, so maybe we need to recruit more athletes going forward. Well, training results are when things always change up a lot. I always gain a lot of levels at this stage too. We have a tight end that's an 89 overall. Jalen Burt is a monster, but surprisingly, Bryce Berger stayed at an 80 while Terry Duval's up to a 79, so I think we know who our starter is going forward for sure. I'd also like to point out that normal dev is hurting Heath Pease because he's now our third wide receiver behind these two guys, and even though we only won 2 games in the last 2 years, we went from a 65-ish overall to an 84. A lot of that's probably due to how I stacked my coach tree though, and I think we need to put more points over here into tactician since this does raise our overall even more. For future rebuilds, I'm definitely going to set the progression to either slow or slowest, just because I don't want our coach overall to get up to like this level 40 from a level 1 in a few years. And I didn't even realize that there was this cross training section. I've been ignoring it. We can get more boosts to different positions. This chart already looks so out of whack, and if you overlay it with our other coordinators, you can see we have a ton down in tactician. So we might not be projected to do well in the SEC since 4 of the top 5 teams in the country are in our conference, but I am confident that we should perform better than Mississippi State and Texas A&M. We have a sophomore quarterback that still has 3 years to develop, and he also has 94 throw power paired with some pretty solid rushing stats. He even has one of the best abilities in the game, Field General, which shows post-snap blitzers, and I'm pretty sure if that gets up to platinum, I can see them pre-play on 3rd and 4th down. Now, instead of us being scared of teams like the UGF Pandas, I think we're going to be the ones that they're scared of, and just looking at some of our needs this year, we clearly need to go after a lot of wide receivers, but besides that, middle linebackers and then some safeties, we're in the clear to get whoever we want. We have built out some solid depth. I think it's time we start going after 4 and 5 stars, and I might have a lot of misses along the way, but I'm trying to keep it in states like Tennessee where we have a 5-star pipeline. You know, I'm really starting to think that only having 400 recruiting hours is one of the most restricting things in the world, because I can mainly just target 7 guys at once, and we're going to have to perform better on the field this season than we did last year, but I think we will as a higher overall. This game's also against our ranked rivals, Middle Tennessee State, and that curl route was perfect, but after it led to a touchdown, the Blue Raiders would score twice, so we're trailing by 7, and it's only because of missed passes like that and a shanked field goal. I was really hoping at some point in this game we would figure things out offensively against them, but we never did, and they've just been running down as much clock as they can or scoring touchdowns. We've absolutely zero hope on this 4th and 21. I'm going to put it in the right spot though, and it's not caught again. I'm telling you all, we're just not meant to win with them, even though I feel like we've built a much better roster, and if we lose to Utah State, that's when I'll know we're really in a ton of trouble. Well, we bounced back 26-23, and next up are the UGF Pandas, so we should be able to repeat this type of result, and just out of curiosity, it looks like Terry Duval still had a turnover in that win. I do think the FCS team's overalls are a bit high though. 70 is tough. It was 63 on NCAA Football 14, and just scrolling through our top 6 recruiting battles, it's going to be a struggle if we're going to land any of these guys. I might have messed up this class, but we picked up another win, and the second I see that we're about to lose a battle for one of them, I'm just going to pull the plug. Jalen Cookus, you had a sick name, but you are now going to be off our board. Well, going into SEC play, we have a chance to be 3-1, and if I've learned anything, we do better in sim than when I play the game, so that's another great result. I am a little bit concerned with how much Terry Duval's turning it over though, and I'm pretty bummed out about the removal of wide receiver Gabe Weaver, but Florida's just going to steal him right out of our hands. If we don't want to fall behind on the 5-star tight end too, I'm just going to have to guess for this hard sell, and proximity to home would really help us, so that's what I went with, but I really don't want to have to play at Ole Miss. They're all running out next to this statue. I'm not sure whose head they're rubbing. I'm not familiar with Ole Miss football, but it could have given them good luck, because with 3 minutes left, we find ourselves trailing by 10 points and we can't fight in. This is one of those situations where you just have to send it on 4th and goal, but they sent it up the gap, and we lost our chance to come back and get the win. Their defense was incredible though, and of course, the wide receiver that we really needed just decided on Clemson. We're actually in such a bad spot with this class. We haven't signed a single prospect, and after this one versus LSU, we're going to be sitting in week 6. I've instantly been cheered up though, because I advanced the week and saw that we landed 5-star tight end Marvin Bowie, and then this 3-star left end who was a gym, so we know that we have another good defender. My only guess for how all that happened was we somehow pulled off the upset, and we did. We won by 1 point. So once again, Suwannee better off when I just don't play, and that's what we're going to do on the road at Texas A&M. Kyle Field can be a tough place to play at though, so I wouldn't be surprised if we lose, and we're about to lose our lead on Zach Ladd. That cannot happen. This outside linebacker has 88 speed, and you all already know the drill. I'm about to find some 4-stars that aren't being recruited. Well, I think I might have found our future quarterback that could get us a championship. 96 throw power, 93 speed, and while while advancing the week, Zach Ladd decided he wanted to stay in the state of Tennessee. That caused us to lose out on this other linebacker to Duke, but I don't care at all. And this battle for cornerback Trey Bettis is going to come down to the wire versus Tennessee. We also picked up another win, this time over the Aggies by 21 points, and I almost feel like I have no choice but to play at Georgia in this next one, but I already know that you all are going to say in the comments there's a better chance of us winning if I just sim it. That's what I did, and we ended up signing Trey Bettis in the meantime, and it was clearly the right move. Somehow we are sitting at 6-2. The only 2 games on this schedule that we have lost have been the ones that I've simmed, and I don't know what Terry Duval's done to beat Georgia by 3, but he has some luck on his side. I want to keep on starting him. I really don't see how we could even lose to Vanderbilt, and we didn't, which means if we win these final 3 games, we're going to be in the college football playoffs. The problem with that is no matter what, I have to play the postseason matchups. So eventually, I'm going to have to get on the sticks at some point, but maybe I won't for a while. We are performing so well in sim. I mean, this is actually ridiculous. We're 3 years into a rebuild, and our defense is holding Missouri to 7 points even though they're the home team, and it's also not like we have Terry Duval going off either. He throws an interception every single game. What I don't understand though is how we're sitting at the top of the SEC standings, but then I go to scroll in the top 25 and we're sitting all the way down here at the bottom. I mean, we have quality losses. One of them came to Middle Tennessee State, who's a top 10 team, and I think it's going to be a while before we see anybody in the Heisman race, but I always have to check. There is one downside to continuing to sim though, and that's the fact that Dakota Smith's locked us out for our play style, which means we're probably not throwing the ball enough for his liking, and of course we finally picked up a loss against my Kentucky Wildcats. The good news though is if we win our next game, we'll still make the conference championship, and that alone should get us into the playoffs, but I'm a little bit hesitant to sim or play it. I feel like these are moments that I really should step into, but we also got here out of straight simming, and I cannot stand how many prospects Tennessee's taken. My big 3 though would be this quarterback and then these 2 wide receivers. I think Ole Miss is about to catch us on Darnold though, and the reason for that is our top 2 motivations are just not a good sell. It is time for the moment of truth though. Will we beat Florida or will we lose? And in season 4 I have to play the big moments. We've crumbled, dropping another one to Florida. We'd also lose 2 4-stars to other SEC schools, and just looking at our board, we did get that 1 5-star, but this class only is 5 players. Even though we'd land this amazing athlete that's going to play quarterback for us, and I need to learn how to pronounce his name, plus another 4-star corner to go into our lineup. I can't be happy about how this year went until we made the SEC championship. I did not know that was going to be possible. There was a 7-way tie for the top 2 spots, and we somehow got one of them. If we win, we have a chance at having an automatic bid into the playoffs. And I was looking at the other conference championships when I saw that Louisville and Georgia Tech made it against each other, and they're 6-6 and 7-5. I don't know how the number 2 team in the country got left out of it, but that's what Stanford gets for joining a conference they don't belong in. And I think we're going to need Nevada to lose if we want the automatic bid for beating the Crimson Tide. I'm starting to feel better about this rebuild though, especially since we just signed this 4-star receiver, and then Josh Story too, another 4-star recruit. Going into conference championship week, we've now put together a class with a ton of 4-stars here at the bottom, and it's not perfect, but it's ranked inside the top 50, and I feel like we could finish inside the top 30 still. We just need to keep moving forward, with our game against Alabama being a tough one, but this is going to be very tough, and I'm just hoping that we put up a decent fight. Our players have somehow made it to the conference championship game after not winning a conference game just a couple of years ago, and what a story getting back into the SEC. I mean, we have made our way down the field, and I think we're going to have a touchdown, but they stuck with our running back, and what a catch, what a play from, I'm pretty sure his last name is Lambo. Even the Alabama fans can't believe it. And that's what I thought. Deshaun Lambo, might as well call him Deshaun Jackson. I mean, Nick Saban reincarnated as Kalen DeBoer's probably going to make us pay for it. But our offense is to blame for not scoring throughout this entire first half besides that 1 touchdown. We have solid targets out there on the field, but sometimes they just get pressed like they did right there. I was thinking that was going to be PI, so I threw it over there. I was hoping the ref would throw the flag. But no, he didn't. So I've had to carefully work it all the way down the field with a few seconds left in the first half, and we're going to score a touchdown to make up for our mistakes. This has been an intense third quarter, but our zones over the middle just didn't guard number 11, and he is gone. So defensive stops have been non-existent as well. And we'd get another touchdown, but the real question is whether or not we're able to get off the field, and we're not able to. I mean, these receivers are cooking our DBs. I am doing my best. I really don't feel good about the interception I threw at the end of the second quarter, but even if we reach the end zone again, we're still going to have to figure out how to stop the Crimson Tide, and look at Lambo go. He has been the engine that's run this offense throughout the entire day. And sure enough, guess who's gotten all the way down the field? I wanted to let them score. That does not put us in a good position with this much time left. And they just got a sack so quickly. It's like we can't do anything. I also want to point out that for whatever reason, our end zone's pink. We have a bunch of pink fans in the stands. And I'm pretty sure that's a glitch with team builder teams at the moment. I knew someone would probably point it out in the comments, so it was best if I just said something. And okay, we're going to go to the 35. But I did accidentally burn one of our 3 remaining timeouts trying to go zone instant replay, and that did not work versus man-to-man coverage. It's another interception. It was due for the amount of yards I'd passed for in this game. Next year, we're going to have to come prepared with a better defense. And it's not like we were supposed to win. We were an 84 overall team. It was only a matter of time before we saw a wide receiver Heisman winner too, and we've been matched up with Georgia Tech in the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. You know that I'm not going to fire these coordinators considering they're level 47 and 46. But trust me, in the next rebuild, we're going to try out this slower Coach XP setting, and thank goodness this year during early National Signing Day, we didn't have a single decommit, so that means we've officially signed the 5-star tight end. We also saw a ton of progression out of Terry Duval. He threw for 36 touchdowns with 15 picks, and since all 5 of his top targets aren't seniors, he should be able to put up even better numbers next year. When it came to running the ball, he even had more yards than Deshaun Lambeau, our starting halfback, and I think we made the right move choosing him as our starting quarterback. I have to win a game at some point this season though, so that's why I've hopped into this bowl, because this is my chance to redeem the Tigers and hopefully get us another win. Okay, I will admit I am not the best when it comes to defense. As you can see, we've already given up 38 points, so I don't even know why I'm trying for a comeback, because it's not like that's actually going to happen and we just fumbled. It is now 3rd and goal. We're probably still going to be stuck behind by 17. I had to go to the flat, and there's absolutely no winning in this situation. I mean, they've completely dominated us, which makes you wonder how I'm ever going to win a national championship with Sewanee. I mean, I can't make a read to save my life, but we have Sim on our side to get us into the playoffs at least, and I can't believe how bad that score was. There is no part of me that wants to remember this bowl game, and we got really lucky that nobody wanted to transfer out, and we only lost 6 seniors to graduation. We have to start picking up more commits though, especially here in the transfer portal, and the number 11 player in the country, this linebacker, has us at number 1 on his board. I mean, there's really nothing too exciting going on with our board outside of Jaden Lewis, the corner, and then Jaden Parrish, the linebacker, but we'll be keeping a close eye on them and making sure we always schedule them for visits. That would eventually land us one of the best transfer linebackers in the country, but we did lose out on that corner to LSU. I also found out that this transfer wide receiver, DeMonte Hester, had 98 speed, so we pretty much have Devin Hester 2.0 that could commit. So when I saw this pop up, I was so relieved, because outside of 5-star Marvin Bowie, he's my favorite player in the class, and I know it wasn't looking very promising, but we finished with the 27th best in the country. Because we're in the SEC, we still have to do better though, and I'm just curious what overall our athlete quarterback's going to be. A 76 is fine. In 2 years, once the 3 guys in front of him are gone, he's for sure going to be our starter, and these training results always seem to go so well. Our best player is left tackle George Bush. I did make some mistakes signing 3-stars though, because there's guys like this 55 overall wide receiver I can't cut. And going into this season, we're not sitting down here at the bottom of the SEC projections. No, we're sitting all the way up here at number 2 with an 87 overall team. But I don't think that's good enough to win it all, so it's a good thing that Terry Duval's only a junior, because we're going to need at least another year to improve. This team could still shock me though. You'd never know when we might make a deep playoff run, and you'll see that some of our grades are starting to increase, which is why I'm going to have a much easier time going after way better prospects this season. I'm also hoping that we can knock off ranked Middle Tennessee State on the road this year, because they've done very well on this file, always finding themselves in the top 25. Well, so far in recruiting, I've decided on the prospects I'm going to go after, including this quarterback. We're number 1 on his board. He looks like he's going to be a solid option, even though we do have another starter for the future, and that's just because we need depth at the position. The same thing's true for halfback, and some offensive linemen as well, which is why I put a player on our board, Darqueze Noel. Now, you might be wondering, is this kid a high schooler? Looking at his face, I don't think so, but he is a 5-star, so we want him. And then there's athlete J.R. Michaels. He is 84 trucking with 88 speed. He has some good abilities too, but unfortunately Georgia's on his board, and that means he's probably going to end up with a DUI if he commits there. I have that kid's future in mind. I want him to end up at Sewanee. And just to feel better about myself, we're hopping into this one against Memphis. There's just no way that we lose this one too. This is my chance to shine on Heisman, prove I can win with a better team. But of course, it can never be that easy. Approaching the end of the 3rd quarter, we're trailing by 3, and I'm going to blame the fact that we have to play on the road. I do have a little RPO that I want to mix in there though, and we are going to get the touchdown out of it, or maybe we're not. We were half a yard short, so we are still not in there. This is actually disgusting. If the fullback dive doesn't work, I don't know what I'm going to do. But it did, and they've just been running it to get it back down the field. Here we go. It is 3rd and 8. I want the computer to make a bad read, but our zone just didn't play that wide receiver, and I shouldn't even be surprised at this point. On 3rd down, we're going to have the hitch route, and that's going to help us get to midfield. field. Before I could get the next snap off though, we'd commit a false start. And isn't that just wonderful? Just how I wanted to start this drive. Throwing an interception to Memphis as well. That sounds about right. You know, I always play so much better after I make a mistake. We're attempting the onside kick, but we're not recovering it. So there was no coming back after I forced it into 3 men. And no matter how good players like Walter Cutting play, it just doesn't do enough for us. It's probably best to just sim against our rivals Middle Tennessee State this time. And look at the difference. A close game versus when I sim it, it's a blowout at a top 25 team's place. I mean 34-8. It wasn't even close. Our defense is actually able to force interceptions. Terry Duval plays so much better. And what's crazy is he could be replaced by the freshman quarterback just based off of some coordinator boosts. Because his dev traits only impact, which is the second lowest, I might actually make that switch, but I have a hard time justifying that whenever Gideon's dev trait is the exact same. The only thing he does better is he has 96 throw power and then he has 93 speed instead of like 85. But if we're winning games, I cannot get rid of Terry Duval. And I'm so excited right now because the 5-star, who was also a gym when I scouted him, we're in a lead for. He is coming on a visit immediately against South Carolina. I feel like this is a game we should be able to win. And I have to guess whether his third interest is academic prestige or athletic facilities. So what I'm going to do is put a hard sell on one, and then I'm going to put a soft sell on the other so we can take care of both of those. I'm so focused on trying to land Noel though that I didn't even notice this right end chose Stanford over us. And I've done something wrong because now both of the 2 pitches that worked best for us on Noel are locked. Something went wrong there, but now we're playing Western Kentucky, and there's a commitment from a 4-star edge rusher. We also got our 4-star backup quarterback that we desperately needed, and Frankie Ogletree will be on the other side of our defensive line. The future is bright. That is for everybody except J.R. Michaels, because we know what's going to happen to him when he gets to Georgia. And not being allowed to use the hard sell on this was actually the greatest thing I could have done because I was able to use the sway pitch, and now this is locked out too. All of that stuff's still a little confusing, but if we beat South Carolina, we should land him, and we really need to, so we open up SEC play in the right way. Well, with 3.5 minutes left, we find ourselves trailing by 2. The game is on the line with us having the ball, and theoretically, all we have to do is just settle for a field goal, but our linemen are getting tossed. This game makes it so hard to pick up a simple 3rd down, and now that it's 4th and 3, if this jet touch pass doesn't work, I'm gonna be so salty. I mean, I couldn't get a single yard against their defense. And here on 2nd and 9, we're gonna stuff the run. All we have to do on 3rd and long is not give this up. Surely they're not gonna just hand the ball off, but they did, and we're gonna get it back, which is all I wanted because there was absolutely no reason that we should have gotten stopped on that earlier set of downs. Now, you would think that a field goal would be easy to come away with, but not against this defense. They've been doing a pretty good job. And here on 2nd and 10, we're gonna take our drag immediately, but we just got rocked. This is literally the hardest game that I have ever played. I mean, what do we do? And on 4th and 10, I already know what's going to happen. I'm going to get it out in time, and we're probably going to drop the football. I am so sick of losing every game, and that's the reason Orlando Fort chose Ole Miss, but maybe we can still get Noel. Heisman difficulty is the worst thing in the world, but at least we can still sign players in the menus. And I will redeem myself against number 12 Georgia. I'm also going to keep adding 4-stars to the board so we have more talented prospects to go after. And this losing streak for games I've hopped into ends right now. So far, things are actually looking good. We've gotten off to a really good start in this game against the Bulldogs, but I just know the second I try to run the ball, they're probably going to blow it up and we'll take that many yards. I've been sweating so hard throughout this half just to have a lead over them. And if we can't just punch this into the end zone, I'm going to lose my mind. Thank goodness we've done it. We have a 2-possession lead over the Bulldogs. But to start this 3rd quarter, they did score and we had the slant, but somehow it was so underthrown that they're going to get the interception. We're about to let this game get tied up. Can we please just tackle? You see the score with 3 minutes left. I don't want to talk about it. We're just going to act like it hasn't happened. Whoever designed Heisman mode on this game is a sick man. I mean, I am struggling, but the playmaker is a beautiful thing I can use. Cutting is going to cut up the field, and we're also going to break that kid's ankles. I want to win a game that isn't just fully dependent upon sim, but they have gotten me to a 3rd and 11 where I'm going to have to thread this needle, and please just fall down. Don't drop that ball. Maybe this is the time that it's happening. We are going to run the speed option, and I have this speed to where I don't even need to pitch this football. It probably would have gone better if I did though, so we're going to let Lambo get out in space, and there's just one defender to beat. Of course, right before I snap the ball, I'm going to get a false start, so that backs us up 5 yards. But I am still determined. I am locking in right here, and that is on the money. We've thrown a touchdown dot. The Clemson mascot was celebrating in the back with us. But let's not act like this game is over. I have seen some ridiculous things happen on NCAA football, so we're playing defense, and they're making me miss like crazy. I promise, if we lose on a Hail Mary or something, I might just have to go back to college football revamped. And here on this next play, they're gonna get like another 20 yards. Well, it all comes down to this. Please just swat the ball down. I am going to spam square. Just make sure they don't catch it, and I think we have it. Oh my gosh, boys, we've beaten a team by ourselves. And this is my proudest moment on the game. I feel a lot more comfortable if Sewanee ever makes the playoffs now. I win one game against the CPU and now I don't know how to act, because now I feel like we're just going to make another run to the SEC championship. There's absolutely zero reason that we should ever lose to Vanderbilt again, and another player in the state of Tennessee decides to stay near home. It's been so easy to sign guys in our pipeline, and we are ranked again, but we're about to host Texas A&M. This might be dumb, but I'm feeling confident. I think we can hop into this game against the Aggies. And Tennessee has come out of nowhere to steal Connor Garrett from us. I'm so salty about that too. It's not our fault our athletic facilities aren't good, and somebody needs to get us some more funding if we're going to compete with other SEC schools in recruiting. Now it's time to play against Texas A&M though, and now that I've gotten into a rhythm, we've been playing amazing. We just got a huge 4th down stop, and this entire game has gone our way. Our offensive linemen are actually blocking, while we kept flying down the field and eventually sealed our win. We're now in a pretty good position in the SEC where only Arkansas, Texas, and Auburn are above us, and we don't play any of them, so if we win out and then beat LSU, we might be in the conference championship. Now that I'm feeling a bit better about my skills again, I'm going to hop into that one against the Tigers, but we have to get there first, and there it is. Tennessee did officially steal Connor Garrett from us. Over the next couple of weeks though, we'd pick up a few more commits, and we'd also pick up a couple more close wins, which means with just 2 games left in the season, we're the number 7 team in the country. Even though this next one's in the swamp, Florida's 2-8, so I'm pretty confident, but even if we beat them and LSU, there's no guarantees that we'll make the conference championship. We'd beat the Gators by 12 though, and we have to check out what Terry Duval did if we put up 42. This might be his best stat line yet. Now with a game left in conference play, it's saying we're in 3rd place, but maybe Auburn will lose or a win over LSU jumps us over them. It's the game of the week because a ton is on the line, and we play so much better in this game whenever we're not trying to come back from being behind but have a lead. The entire day we've been up by either 7 or 14 points, and now we're going to pitch it with one guy to beat on the outside. We're not getting all the way, but that's fine because I just realized the 2-minute warning's coming up. Now I would be lying to you if I didn't say I've been milking this clock for about the entire 4th quarter, but that's because I've learned my lesson. I don't want to lose this game, and I've decided to settle for a field goal, which really isn't moving that quick. I cannot choke this. Please just drill it down the middle. You know, I'm really starting to think that we're ready for the college football playoffs, and that defensive stop was amazing. We can just take a knee. Now the real question is going to be whether or not we make the SEC championship. I just have no idea how the tiebreaker rules work, and I'd like to think that we'd be in it considering we're the number 3 team in the country. However, looking at the standings from this view, they have us at the 3rd spot, and I guess no matter what, we're not getting a 1st round bye in the college football playoffs. If we do have to play somebody though, I hope it's not Clemson because this sophomore wide receiver's been insane, and we've drawn North Texas in the 1st round. This couldn't be more perfect. To be fair though, we did deserve that, and Auburn's our next opponent if we win, so I'm excited because I feel like we have a pretty simple path to the semifinals. We've also been crushing it in recruiting because we've now signed 1 5-star and then 10 4-stars along with that, a couple 3-stars too, and I have some coach points that I need to start spending. All I did here was just max out everything in the tactician category, and then we're gonna go over to motivator, get tier 3 on a couple of these positions that we should have had it on a long time ago. This is just gonna help us in the future if we don't win a championship this year. So now we seem to be good at all sorts of things, and our coordinator's also covering those other gaps. It's time for Sewanee to host their first ever college football playoff game though, and I can't believe how much wear and tear our quarterback's already taken at this point in the game. I feel like our guys just aren't that well rested even though we didn't play in the conference championship, and I don't get why. It's not like I'm even scrambling a bunch with him either, but I was going to on this play until I ran for 9 instead. We might actually have to rest him or he's going to get injured before the next round assuming we win, and it's probably best if we just hand it off to start this game off with a touchdown, but we're not in yet. Please just fight your way in. This is against North Texas, and it should not be this hard to get some points against them. Please just make the catch. Every single time we score, it feels so rewarding, and we're trying to make sure that North Texas doesn't get more points before the half and they drop the football. That's a big moment in this game, but their kicker's also really good, so it's safe to say he's done whatever it's taken to keep them in it throughout this entire game. But we're going to pick up this 3rd down run with a few minutes left, and I have no shame in giving it to Lambo over and over until we secure the win. This was even supposed to be a jet touch pass, but instead we came out and actually threw the ball, which worked out anyway. And maybe this time around we can get the play call right because this right side of the field was wide open for the taking, and there's just one guy to beat. Getting out of bounds really wasn't ideal. In order to make sure we win, we have to get a touchdown, but that should come right here, and the Tigers are headed to the next round of the college football playoffs. It was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be, but at least we're still moving on. That's all I care about. And Terry Duval continues to prove why I made the right decision making him the starter. Now, I did think it'd take longer than 4 years for Sewanee to win a playoff game, but the SEC leverage helped us more than it hurt us, and I knew Auburn was a lower overall team than us, so I wasn't worried about them. They did win the SEC championship though, so this isn't going to be a gimme, and the pressure's really on. There's a spot in the semifinals that is on the line today. That hasn't seemed to affect us too much though, because we've been doing just fine throughout the first few quarters, and I'm ready to take this team to a championship. Auburn isn't going away though. With 5 minutes left. They're on a 3rd and 18. Their quarterback's going to try to scramble, and I swear if they pick this up on the ground, I'm going to be so frustrated. This time I have a quarterback contain out there on the field, but they went with a little pass over to their running back, and they're at the 10. They'd eventually score, but they didn't get the 2-point conversion, which puts us in a decent position. All we have to do is run out the rest of the clock. That juke move to the inside was filthy. And at least you all can see now that the only thing I do is not just spin moves. Here on 2nd and 12, we're hoping to get some better blocks on this play, and we did, but we're still short, so it's 3rd and 5, and I don't know what to do here. I think we just have to kick the field goal and play defense. I know we can hit it, but they're probably going to pick us apart. They're driving down the field versus us, and not only did they pick up the first, but they hurdled us too. They still have a minute to score as well. We need the CPU to just throw us an interception. And here on 2nd and 8, they let the clock run a lot longer than I thought they would, but we have everything locked down besides the flat. Our end zone still looks so random. I don't know why its display looks like that. It's just pink. And now there's just 30 seconds. We need to step up here. Please just throw us the ball. No way, that's a laser. We're literally about to have 29 seconds to have a game-tying field goal, or maybe the game-winning field goal, except they get in. And they don't even want to give us a chance to return this kick, so we'll take a knee. Season on the line, and they are backing up all of their DBs. They're playing this very smart, but we're still going to throw it perfectly over there to Cutting, and come on. This is our legacy drive. I probably should have burned a timeout there, but I feel like we have them beat deep, and we do. Please just catch it. We are going for the win here, and I doubt they're going to expect the run, but there was nowhere to go. So now it's 2nd and goal. I'm going to wait for the drag to get open, and I had no time at all. I feel like we have enough time to get off one play. I have put the route out there on the field that I want to throw, and okay, I don't want to talk about it. Do not leave a comment. We're going to lose the game because I got greedy, and that's been my go-to play that works 90% of the time in that situation. I swear, this adaptive AI defense on Heisman's going to give me nightmares, and I don't care that we've signed another 4-star. We could have won it all, but instead Auburn made that deep run, and then Stanford took the title. So they're somehow back, and I'm just hoping that Terry Duval doesn't declare for the NFL draft yet. Unfortunately, Deshaun Lambeau's gone either way, but this is some really good stats for a running back on this game. And after the playoffs, I just saw our wide receiver stats. Number 1, Walter Cutting. How on earth is this guy not the Heisman winner? I mean, that was the most in the country, and that stat line looks better than Jordan's, who actually won the Heisman as a receiver. But oh well, one day maybe we'll be in the race. And look at that, Cutter Boley was even for Kentucky. I actually know who he is now, so Kentucky fans can appreciate that. And I just don't care much about high school recruiting, but you're gonna see that we're losing a ton of seniors, and only one of them's good enough to go to the NFL. That would change though, because in the 7th round, we did pick up 2 more picks, including George Bush. And in the transfer portal, we have some really good options, including this guard from Kentucky. We're gonna go after him for sure. If we can pull off even half of the signings we have right now, we're gonna have our best class ever by far, because we're already up to number 21 in the country, and I think we're just gonna keep climbing. Our school prestige still isn't perfect, but it is up to a 3-star one. And aside from losing one more time to Auburn so far, we're having a really good transfer portal period. It keeps getting better too, because this was the number 4 transfer in the country, and then this guy was the number 5 one from Kentucky. We're just signing every single player left, and we have put together a class of 26 different players that I can scroll through. I am stunned. I know we're in the SEC, so we should be doing better than number 17, but that's plenty good enough to develop your team to a 90 overall. And at this point in the rebuild, 18 4-stars is more than enough. Now we get to have fun moving these guys to the right position. Well, we have multiple players over 90 overall. It says our team overall is a 90 overall, so this could be the year that we actually win a title. But there's also a decent chance we don't, which is why it's so important we have this freshman quarterback developing behind our starter. I really just want to put him into the lineup with that 96 throw power, 93 speed. But we have to respect our elders, Terry Duval, who has gray hair in college and has gotten us to this point. At running back, it's none other than Jamal Maples, the kid I recruited in the first year. And it's kind of nuts to me that Heath Pease is our 4th wide receiver, but it also makes sense. We even have DeMonte Hester buried on the depth chart, but I might put him in whenever I'm playing just because of how quick he is. And I've noticed whenever I do rebuilds, my offensive line gets ridiculously good. I'm not sure why that is, but they're all insane. I'm definitely no longer worried about the teams on our schedule before we start SEC conference play as well now, because if we're projected to be the best team in the country, then we shouldn't have any issues. I am a little surprised that we still haven't had anybody in the Heisman watch though. And it's weird how we can be projected to be the best team, but then not projected to win the SEC. With how I end up playing in big time games, I have to make sure I continue to recruit really good players just in case we don't win it all. So that's why we're going after some studs. And there's zero reason that the Riverside Royals should beat us here. I'm guessing they didn't because Tyler Stevens went off for 2 sacks, and then Walter Cutting picked up right where he left off last year with another great game. And it might make a lot of logical sense to just simulate until we lose something. I mean, we have recruiting fully covered. We're either going to get these guys or not. I'm putting as many points on each one of them as I can. And after beating Middle Tennessee State, we're set to beat another team in our state. I will admit though, these two definitely were closer than I would have liked them to be, and we might not be holding on to this #1 1 spot for much longer. Taking a couple weeks off recruiting too definitely hurt because I noticed that this middle linebacker just chose the University of Miami out of nowhere. The worst news though is going to be the day that I advance and we're not undefeated, and so far all I'm seeing is updates that I've signed people. Unfortunately though, we would lose this linebacker to Auburn. We were so close in the battle, and they're trying to take this one from us too. That's what I get for going after these highly rated prospects though, because we're about to lose another battle to Wisconsin. So signing a 5-star running back at least balances things out. Now's probably the time that we should start to hop into a couple games though, because this game against Texas A&M could decide if we make the SEC championship. We got snubbed last year, so I don't want it to happen again, and this is another really good warm-up for when we make the college football playoffs. With 2 minutes left in the first half, it's all tied up at 14, but they thought they could press cutting. I don't know what they were thinking there. It's going to be 21-14. That was the easiest touchdown we've scored in a while, and after getting it back to us, you'd think that they'd be a little bit smarter about what they're running defensively, but they are not. We're going to take it to the 5-star tight end we landed, and they're still out there running press coverage. I'm going to go back to the end zone, and that was actually clamps. Why would I throw that? See, stupid stuff like that is what keeps the other team in the game whenever I play against them. And on 2nd and 10, if this is man-to-man, we're going to take our comeback route, but there's a flag on the play. It should be against them. We have been bailed out. Thank goodness I made another blind read. And it is very clear why it is always a struggle for me to win a championship, but I'm going to step up in the pocket just to lose a couple of yards and bring out the jet touch pass because I trust it will get us into the end zone, but they're all over it too. I can't even audible my players. I don't know what button is what, but we scored a touchdown. And to be honest, it was not supposed to go to him. We've definitely proven though that in a tough environment, we can come out and play super well. And here on 2nd and 11, they're going back to it on the ground, which we're all over. I actually really want them to go for it on 4th down here if we get a sack. But they're doing the smart thing instead, kicking a field goal against us. And all it's going to take to secure this win is 1 first down. Now, the fun thing about them coming out and press man-to-man coverage is we should be able to just pass it right over top. I mean, that DB didn't even react to what we were doing. It looked way too easy there, and we should stop stunning right now. We can celebrate once we're in the end zone with the Clemson mascot that's joined our team. And the fact that they won't go away is driving me nuts, but we recovered the onside kick, and that is it. Well, I thought it was until I realized they still had all 3 of their timeouts left somehow. And they're pressing our receivers again. You know what I'm going to throw, but I got hit. I can't see a thing. I don't even know what routes we have out there on the field right now. This is not good. We're going to have to give it back to the Aggies unless we're somehow able to pick up the first down. And luckily enough, that would be enough to help us seal our win. Walter Cutting is continuing to be the best receiver in the country as well, so it's no surprise that another 5-star wide receiver would want to play for us. Make that 2. We actually got another one to commit as well, and that numbs the pain of this 5-star linebacker choosing Syracuse over us. 3 of the 4 commits we've signed so far have been 5-star recruits, but they still have us at the 43rd best class, so I decided to find us 3 more 5-star recruits to go after. Then when it comes to our performance on the field, we're still ranked number 1, so I have no problem continuing to simulate. Eventually a loss was bound to come though. At Mississippi State is just gross. We still have these 4 games left on our schedule, and the fact that we dropped to number 12 in the country even though we're 2nd in the SEC makes 0 sense. I mean, 2 lost Texas A&M's up to number 4, and we literally went into their place and beat them, but whatever, it is what it is. We're still signing a couple 4-stars a week, and we all know that Vanderbilt isn't going to come out and take us down in this game. That one win by only 8 points was all it took to shoot us back up to number 4 in the polls. We have Kentucky, Florida, and LSU left on our schedule, and just looking at these conference standings, we might miss out on the SEC championship. All I'll say is if we lose any other game, I'm not going to sim anymore, but I want to trust this team during sim, and I'm just locked in on signing all these 5-stars. I might have made a mistake though, because as you can see, we're sitting at 8-2. And why did my favorite team just beat us 52-17? I'm very disappointed in our defense right now, but apparently that's not the only thing I should be disappointed in. Terry Duval threw 3 interceptions, and I should have just hopped into that one because they played exactly how I would have. It is what it is though. It's just more practice for the playoffs, and I want you all to know how good this feels to just run up the score versus the Gators. They can't stop us. I have legitimately done whatever I've wanted for almost 3 quarters now, and they still haven't been able to score a single point. They'd eventually figure it out at the end, but we scored 44, so I'm fine with that. And as you can see, we're climbing back up into the top 12, but I don't think we're going to make the conference championship game, which is a big problem. That means we're not going to have a first round bye in the playoffs, and to make matters worse, somehow over that time period, we lost a 4-star to Oregon. I currently have a top 25 class though, with 3 more 5 stars hopefully on the way. And we better win this one if we want to have any fun this postseason. We already know it's going to be super hard to come out on top. Or at least I thought it would be. We're currently playing as the best Tigers in the SEC, and we might even drill this field goal too. We have gone into their place and shut it down. They are silent on 4th and 14. There's no way they're picking that up. And this might be crazy to go for it at the end of the game, but I just wanted to seal it. It has been a good day beating LSU at Death Valley. And I specifically remember recruiting our player of the game. With those bounce back results, now 5 stars want to play for us again. And you're just going to see more and more of them sign. That is the last one, 6-1 class. And I could have probably had the number 1 class for the first time ever on College Football 25 if I went a little bit harder in recruiting. The only reason I didn't is because we're going for quality over quantity. And once again, we have finished outside of the SEC championship where Auburn and Alabama are going to play again, even though they just played last week. That means just looking at the polls, we're probably not going to get a great draw for this playoff, but we're pretty prepared for it. We have both a level 50 offensive and defensive coordinator. And Auburn could be the team to knock us out again. Their quarterback won the Heisman Trophy. We've gotten our first round playoff draw too. It's going to be against Oregon. So that's not an easy matchup like North Texas was. And speaking of the Mean Green, they're back in the playoffs, but we'd have to play Kansas State if we took down the Ducks. It's not looking good for Sewanee, especially because Terry Duval has regressed. And Jamal Maples could not fill the shoes of what we needed at starting running back, while at wide receiver, Walter Cutting also took a major step back. With those coordinator boosts though, and just the fact that he's got us here, it doesn't make any sense for me to sub out our starter for the freshman. And I'm ready to see what we can do against Oregon. I'm really hoping that we're not a first round exit, but we do have to play this on the road, which makes me very nervous. And the shadows on this field in this game have been miserable so far. It's almost like we should only throw to the left side of it, and we just fumbled. Wonderful. That is what I wanted to see. That's exactly it. We are literally so lucky that our defense forced an interception right back. We really don't deserve it. And on 2nd and 17, I'd love to have enough time to get this throw out, which we did, and it's caught. All right, this time around, the goal is to not turn the ball over, and that's short. So we have a huge decision going into the start of this second quarter. We're currently controlling most of the game, but I'm going to get greedy, go for the fullback dive, and we almost had a touchdown. I don't know if quarterback sneak works in this game, but we'll do it 4 times if we have to. And that's what you want to see out of Terry Duval. Now Oregon's put together a really good drive down the field. They have it on a 3rd and 7 though, and I'm going to intercept that. That is a perfect user with Thrasher. I'm not going to get the pick 6 though. And ever since that moment up until there's 2.5 minutes left, we've done a really good job maintaining our lead, but they have it on a 3rd and 6. They're not hiking the ball. I am very nervous for this play. I don't know what the Ducks are going to go with, but we're going to give up the first, and that keeps them in it. This has been a back and forth battle, but now with the option, I feel like they're about to score a touchdown. And I did not want the pressure on me to score the game-winning drive against the Ducks. It might be better than having to get a defensive stop, though, because at least this is fully in our control offensively. And I'm just going to continue to try and take the smart read. The slant was open there, but sometimes these throws are not what you're looking for, and what am I doing? 3rd and 8, a minute and a half left. What we're going to have to do is step up in the pocket, deliver that over the middle. And I am so locked in right now. I do not want to lose this one to Oregon. Please do not fumble the football. I'm trying to slide. Now we're going to take it over to the flat to our running back. I knew that Maples would get open there. We're going to be inside their red zone. And with a minute left, we have time to be patient. I'm going to do a running play just to see if we can break one off. That'd be super nice in this situation, but it doesn't happen. So it's 2nd and 7. The drag is eventually going to get open. And what am I even throwing? I did not like that read there, but we should be fine over the middle. That needs to be a first. And coming out in fullback dive with 27 seconds left is never ideal, but we're going to pick this up, and I have gone in turbo mode. I just want to pound it down their throat. Come on, 14 seconds left. Game on the line. Do we do another fullback dive? No, they're ready for it. And I don't even know what we have out there on the field right now. That was supposed to be play action. Okay, here we go. 5 seconds left. I'm just going to have to go with the RPO, hope for the best, and I knew we could catch them lacking. Oh my gosh, we have just won in Oregon. We are moving on to the quarterfinals. This is the most excited I've ever been in a video. And that entire drive, I was sweating. I was so nervous, but what a throw. I have never been more relieved to win a playoff game. And Terry Duval has actually done it. This kid deserves to make it to the NFL. What kind of stinks though is that is only one playoff win out of the 4 that we're going to need if we want to win a championship, and now we have to face off against the number 1 team. It isn't getting any easier from here. I am sure that North Texas and Louisiana are about to lose as well. And we might have lucked out if Kansas State's only an 85 overall. They could have been much much better than that for being the #1 team in the country, so I'm feeling a bit better. And here on 3rd and 3, we had a little bit of play action in there that I really didn't want, which could have led to a draw. I think it's crucial that we start this game with a score, and I would have had the halfback angle route, but our pocket collapsed so quickly, and we're going to work to get it out a little bit quicker like we did right there. I doubt we're going to pick up this 3rd and 16. I'm not too worried about it, but we might be able to. I was patient, and there we go. Hendricks gets in. That is how you start a quarterfinal matchup. And on this 3rd and 4, that zig route's going to be open all day. I have been loving those. Don't worry, we've also been letting Maples get some runs in too. But the biggest problem with him is even though we have a 90 overall offensive line and a really good running back, we barely get more than 4 or 5. It almost makes more sense to pass the ball almost every single play. And I have a lot of hope for Hendricks on this one where he is going to not make that catch. They're going to hit them with the flag though. There were dudes all over him. And I got to go back to running these RPOs down here on the goal line. I mean, they're not perfect as you can tell right there, but this worked. And you would think that Kansas State would be playing better than this. I'll admit, I probably shouldn't have said that. They scored almost immediately after I did. But we're going to make their defense work. If they want to run coverage like that, I'm going to find the open receiver every time. Now that we're actually playing well, I'm having a lot of fun breaking down this defense, and there's 2 guys I could have made miss here. But it didn't happen. Now we need our offensive line to hold up, and they did right there for long enough. We're going to throw this one on the run. What a dot. This is currently peak Bordeaux gameplay. I never play this well, and we're still not in. Whatever we do here, I do not want to have to settle for a field goal to end the half, and I don't know why they'd pinch their defense. We're going to have the easiest touchdown ever. You can start to feel it. The Tigers might be headed to the semifinals, and we've worked it all the way down the field to start the 3rd quarter to our pink end zone where we're going to score again. This has definitely been one of my favorite wins in this rebuild. We have just dominated all over, and we're breaking that tackle too, but I'm a respectful opponent, so we're going to take a knee, not score, and we will accept our 18-point win over the Wildcats. Next up, we should have had Auburn though, not Louisiana. And how on earth did the Heisman winner get upset by the Raging Cajuns? North Texas just beat Michigan by 2 as well. I don't know what I'm seeing right now. And Auburn's Reggie Sills played pretty well, but this Arkansas State quarterback had 5 touchdowns, Devontae Warrior, and that's a terrifying name. They're currently averaging 34 points per game, but I have a feeling that their overall can't be the highest. Yeah, it's an 80. So I'm expecting us to book our trip to the championship. So far, things have been looking pretty good, but I have to hope that we hold on to that. And you know what? If this 3rd down doesn't go our way, we'll be fine, but I had to try to put it on a tightrope. Conrad Kendricks just wasn't good enough to actually haul it in. We'll take our field goal though. We're still up by 3. And on this next drive, I'm going to take that hitch route all day. You cannot send a blitz at us. The problem though is it is being marked as a 4th and inches, so we're going to run the option, and I'm going to pitch this last second. I think Maples is going to have a lot of green grass in front of him, and we're diving for the end zone. He just got destroyed in midair, so we have put in the backup running back to just take this one in. But defensively, we're handling our business, and offensively, they're not worrying me at all. This has definitely been the most relaxing game I've had in this entire video. I mean, we are just cruising past them, but we're not getting into the end zone. So we still have to take care of business to end this quarter, and that's a bad throw. Because we're up by 3 possessions, though, I might be disrespectful. I want to attempt my first fake field goal ever in this game, and we actually have it against them. It is already over for Louisiana. And after that stressful game against Oregon in the 1st round, I can't tell you how good it feels to just blow out our opponent and get to the championship. I'm not going to act like I was perfect, though. I still threw 2 interceptions with Terry Duval. Their offense just couldn't do a single thing against us. And I am really hoping that we get North Texas in this next round. I think they were playing against Michigan. I can't exactly remember who it is, but it is North Texas. We've gotten lucky. Who did they even play against? It was Alabama. How on earth did they beat Alabama? That makes 0 sense. See, this is when I wish I could actually hop into the games to see what happens, but I can't. So all we can do is look at this bracket that's gotten easier the closer we've gotten to the championship. We should be winning it all with Sewanee in year 5, and what a run we've had. I didn't think adding them to the SEC would have been this easy. I thought we were going to struggle for at least a few years before we even won a game. I'm definitely going to have to mess with the sliders for the Harvard rebuild that's coming out soon to make things more challenging. And we've gotten them to a 4th and 1 where I thought they were going to hand it off, but instead they're throwing the football and we were all over it. They're probably going to score, but anyway, I do need to start bringing challenges back to these videos. And by the time there's less than 2 minutes left in this first half, it is not looking great for either team. We've only been able to score 7 points each, but I've also not been as locked in because I'm feeling pretty confident against them. I mean, we can do whatever we want. I'm starting to have a real appreciation for some of these throws, but they almost picked that one off and we're just going to have to make a defender miss. 3rd and 4 now. You have to wonder what type type of coverage they go with, and I always like those zig routes. So we're still in a position to get points before the half, and perfect. We're going to attack the seam all day. We might as well just break free with Bartel to the end zone. That's the electrifying offense I want to see out of the Tigers. And we've continued to maintain that one possession lead, but are we going to hold on to it or not? We're going to get the interception with Stubbs. That's huge. Words really cannot explain how big that was, and they sent a blitz, which left this left side of the field wide open to scramble. There's just one defender to beat, but we'd eventually score another touchdown anyway. They'd get one back, so with a few minutes left, it is 28-21. This one's definitely not been a blowout like some of the other games have been for us recently, but we've maintained our lead really well in this game throughout it anyway. I haven't taken many risks, and I want to make two defenders miss at once. We're still either a field goal or one first down from this one being entirely over, but we've just done so well running the ball. And anytime I've tried a juke move that's not a spin move, it just doesn't work as well. Now, the one thing that I can't do on third downs, throw an interception, which is why we went back to running the ball. And making this kick right here would seal the game for us, which it does. We have officially won a national championship with the Tigers. I can't believe that we pulled that off in year 5. And Suwannee should clearly take the SEC up on the offer of them being able to get back in it legally. There's apparently a loophole that would allow them to join again since they were a founding member, and I am never going to forget the name Terry Duval. I mean, it's definitely a little confusing that he didn't get drafted into the NFL, but maybe it's because even with all of our coordinator boosts, he's only an 88 overall, and I'm starting to have a blast with Team Builder and Dynasty. The next one's going to be with Harvard, so make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already so you can be ready for that one.